Lab number 81. With this lab, we're starting a small advanced lab series that will guide us through the installation of AppCenter that is shipped together with MobileFirst Platform version 7.1 on a Bluemix. And basically, this is not an official process of how to install AppCenter there. Officially, it's supported on WebSphere application server, base or network deployment, on Liberty, Core, even on Tomcat. Bluemix is not part of official supported environments, but it's working there, and there are many people who want to try it on the Bluemix. And the Bluemix environment has some benefits that you may value from, especially if you're doing the pilot projects or the POC projects and you need to have an easy way of distribute your apps. So what you need to start this lab series is, first of all, you will need to have the Bluemix account. You have the prerequisite lab for this before starting this lab series. You need to set up IBM Data Studio that we'll be using to actually create database tables. And you will also need to have the installation files for MobileFirst Platform version 7.1. It doesn't really matter for which platform. You can set up it for Windows or for Linux, doesn't really matter. But what you need to do is actually one time to run through the installation process, including the server setup. So the main thing is that in order to get the AppCenter var files or one ER file and database configuration, you need to run the server setup. So you can follow one of the passes, either on Windows, either on Linux, till the stage where the foundation server setup will go through, and then to take the var files and basically everything we will need will be located inside the AppCenter folder that located inside the installation directory with your MobileFirst Platform server. So the folder looks like this. So you have inside the configuration samples, you have the console where you can have either the separate installation for var files, either to set up one ER file. You also have the scripts to configure databases, and we will be using them. You have installer with actually the ready APK file to be set up on the, for example, on Android device, or with the binary for other platforms. And of course, the source code is also here to modify the AppCenter, the client side of AppCenter. In this lab, we won't cover the client side, neither in other labs of this lab series, because the client-side configuration and actually creating of client-side binary is the rather task for developer than for administrator. So admin labs will be only focused on the server side, on making this work, and then we will test this within the browser, and additional step will be for your developers to prepare the binary of the client side. So this is how we will proceed. Those things are what you need to get started, and if you don't have the installer, you need to ask IBM representative for installer, or you need to be a valid business partner, then you can get it from Partner World, or the valid client with the license, then you can download it from Passport Advantage. So that's it. With all those things said, we can start with the lab itself. So we'll start with opening the browser and navigating to Bluemix and logging inside our Bluemix console. So you just need to click login and provide your credentials in order to log into a console. So now when you're inside the dashboard, what we will need to do is we will need to navigate to a catalog and first of all create an application. Our application and environment itself will be based on Liberty, runtime, and what you need to do here is to select Liberty and then enter the application name. It should be unique. Basically, you can type whatever you want, but then when you will be going to a host, be especially precise to make some valid name, because this will be the URL which will consist of your host.mybluemix.net, and you will be accessing your application center using this URL. So in my case, I will type something like AppCenter help, something like this. This is the example. You don't need to do the same. It can be fully up to you, but make sure this is unique. Otherwise, it will say that it won't be able to create this host. In my case, everything was successful. So as you can see on the top, our application is staging. It means that runtime will be created within a second and the application will be started. As you can see, it's already happened. So in order to work with this application, to push the changes, to do some development and so on, you will need to install the command line interface. So you will need to download it from GitHub. If you already completed the Bluemix labs, the installation of MobileFirst Platform server to Bluemix, you already have this command line interface for Cloud Foundry there. If you don't have it, you will need to install it. Installation is pretty simple. Just click on Debian 64-bit. It will start downloading, and after it will finish downloading, what you will need to do is to open the terminal, navigate inside the downloads folder, and then run this command. Of course, within sudo. So sudo the package -i and then the name of the package. In our case, it's this cf command line interface installer and then the version .deb. The password is the same. Double Q was uppercase, double Q was lowercase, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then click enter. That's it. So the command line is there. In order to verify that, just type cf. So it's working, it's there. Now we can close the terminal and this page, of course. So next step for us will be to go back to a catalog and create a database service that should be binded to this application. So there are several options that we can follow, and probably the best one for production will be to go with full DB2 instance, and you have the DB2 service right here. As you can see, IBM DB2 on cloud. But because we are actually running this lab series as the advanced topic, and this is not the officially supported flow that you will actually experience in these labs, we will actually focus on SQL database. This is also a service from IBM, and this is actually behave as DB2, so it's powered by DB2. So the connection and all the information that is stated in Knowledge Center related to DB2 installation process will be actually equal with this service. And what we will do, we will select this SQL database service. We will bound it to AppCenter help application that I've created. And the service name, basically we can enter anything. Let's type something like AppCenter help db. I will use this name, you can use whatever, and then click create. So as you can see, your application needs to be restaged, so just click restage and wait until this process will be finished. So now what we can do is actually go back to dashboard, and you should be able to see your application was bound to this database that in my case called AppCenter help database. So the next step for us will be to go back to this AppCenter help application and to check the credentials for this SQL database. So this will be the parameters that we will need to use to connect to this database from our application. And first of all, we will need to fill this database with actually the right tables and actually to prepare this database to be able to work as a database for Application Center. So for that we will use IBM Data Studio client, and it's already should be installed on this system. So right now it's time to launch the Data Studio clients and prepare database connection using those credentials. So what you need to do here is to select Connect and Browse Database from getting started. Next step for you will be to click with the right button on Database Connections and select New one. Next step will be to specify the database manager. It will be DB2 for Linux, Unix, and Windows. It doesn't matter actually, but in our case it will be simpler to go this way. And next important thing is about the JDBC drivers. So by default, as you may notice, here we have a drivers located inside the shared folders. So here we have db2 jcc4 jar file, and you have basically two options because you will need this file later on. You can use either this driver or download driver with the latest version from IBM website. And we will follow this step on the moment we will be working with Liberty Profile Server. For a Studio, it's okay to use the version that is shipped together with the Data Studio itself. So what do we need to do here? First of all, the database name, hosts, ports, username, and the password should be filled. So let's go back to our browser, to the dashboard, and basically copy the values from here. So this is the name of our database, as you can see, but this one is the internal name of the service, but rather when we are connecting to it, we are using the SQL DB as the name for a database, so this will be the right value in our case. Then the host should be IP address that you have and that you are getting from here. So make sure you're copying your values instead of looking on mine. Then you will need the username and the password. So this one is the password. I can click Save Password, and the username will be this one. You can leave default schema undefined for now, but actually it's the same name as your username. So basically that's it. Now you can click Test Connection to verify the connection to the database. As you can see, connection was successful, so we can click Finish actually to create the database connection here. So now we are connected to a database. You can check for available schemas, and as I said, the one that we will use is this user 12994. You can check for tables and verify that there is nothing for now. So what we will need to do next is to go back on database connection and actually run the script. We can select new SQL script from here. So actually here you need to pass the code from configuration samples for DB2. So let's actually take it from our host machine. In my case, it's configuration samples folder. And from there, what we will need is actually database scripts. So because the configuration samples actually supposed to be running using the end script, and it will install all in once. It will prepare the Liberty profile, it will prepare database and everything else. It won't be very suitable for us because database is not local, the Liberty we don't have yet, so we'll use the script for database itself, the SQL script. And in our case, it will be the create AppCenter db2, and what we will need to do is to copy the file from our host machine and then pass it somewhere. Let's do it in downloads folder for this machine. So now I can open the script with whatever text editor I want, copy everything I have here. and then pass inside my Data Studio. That's it. Now, actually, what we will need to do, we will need to launch this script, and basically you just need to click this Run SQL button. It will take some time until actually the execution process will be finished, because the database is a remote one, not the local one, and you're using the free plan, so speed is also a bit limited. But it won't take a while. As you can see, it's already succeeded. And now we can verify that actually inside our schema we should have the tables. So let's refresh it. Yep, and now you have a tables and everything else needed to actually use this database as a database for our application center. So basically on this step we can say that we prepared the database, we can exit from our Data Studio, we can ignore all the things related to scripts, and close the browser. We will continue setup of our application center on a Bluemix in next lab, and our current lab number 8.1 is finished. Thank you.